Stop the wedding! The scream cut through the grand hall like a blade. Music crashed to silence. Guests gasped. Cameras froze mid-flash. At the front of the room, the groom turned sharply. Daniel Moore. Millionaire? Businessman. The man every newspaper called untouchable. Stood beside the altar, confusion flashing across his face. Beside him, dressed in white, stood Anna. And in the middle of the aisle, a barefoot girl, thin, breathing hard, her dress torn at the hem, her eyes burning with fear and something stronger than fear, courage. Security moved instantly. "Get her out!" someone shouted. But the girl screamed again, louder this time. "Don't marry her. She will destroy you." Chaos exploded. Guests stood. Chairs scraped. Whispers turned into shouting. Anna gasped, clutching her chest. "Daniel," she cried. "I don't know her." Daniel raised his hand. "Wait." The guards froze. His eyes were locked on the girl. "You," he said calmly. "What is your name?" The girl swallowed. "Lena." Her voice shook. "But I'm telling the truth." The wedding planner rushed forward. "This is madness. She's ruining everything." But Daniel stepped down from the altar. Slowly, deliberately. "How do you know my bride?" he asked. Lena shook her head. "I don't," she said. "But I know her plan." Anna laughed nervously. "This is ridiculous," she said, tears forming perfectly in her eyes. "Daniel, please." "She's probably been paid." Lena flinched. "I wasn't paid," she said. "I was warned." Silence fell. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Warned by who?" Lena's voice dropped. "By her phone." 2 nights earlier, Lena had been cleaning outside the hotel. She worked there sometimes for tips, for leftover food, for a chance to survive. Anna had been standing near the balcony, her back turned, laughing, talking on the phone. Lena wasn't trying to listen, but some words are sharp. They cut through air. "I waited 20 years, Anna had said. "My father lost everything because of his father. This marriage is the perfect revenge. He trusts me completely." Lena froze. "And after the wedding?" the voice on the phone asked. Anna smiled. "I take what's his," she said softly. "And then I break him." Lena's hands had started shaking. She remembered her own parents, their arguments, how hatred passed from one generation to another like poison. She knew that sound, the sound of old anger wearing a smile. "I heard her," Lena said now, standing in the aisle. "She plans to ruin you. Not today, but slowly, quietly." Anna screamed. "She's lying." Daniel looked at his bride, then back at the girl. "How do you know this isn't just jealousy?" he asked. Lena laughed bitterly. "Jealousy?" she said. "Sir, I don't even own shoes." A ripple moved through the crowd. Daniel noticed. For the first time, he truly saw her. "How did you get in here?" he asked gently. "I followed the truth," Lena replied. Daniel turned to security. "Bring her phone." Anna stepped back. "You can't." "Now," Daniel said. Her phone was taken. Messages opened. Calls reviewed. Silence stretched. Then, a name appeared, the same one Lena had heard. Daniel's face changed. Color drained. "Play it," he said. The recording filled the hall. Anna's voice echoed through speakers meant for wedding music. Cold, calculated, full of old hatred. The room erupted. Anna collapsed to her knees, screaming, crying. The wedding was canceled within minutes. Guests left in stunned silence. Reporters gathered outside. But Lena remained, standing alone, waiting for punishment. Instead, Daniel walked toward her, slowly. When he reached her, he did something no one expected. He bowed his head. "You saved my life," he said quietly. Lena blinked. "I just listened." "Where are your parents?" Daniel asked. Lena looked away. "They fought," she said. Like her parents did. Like many do. Daniel nodded. And school? She shook her head. I stopped going. Daniel closed his eyes. The cost of silence weighed on him. 1 week later, Lena stood in an office taller than any building she'd ever entered. Daniel sat across from her. Lena, he said, I will pay for your education. All of it. Her breath caught. But that's not all. She looked up. I will build a foundation in your name, he continued, to protect people from hidden revenge, from inherited hate. Tears rolled down her face. Why? She whispered. Daniel smiled sadly. Because you stopped a wedding, he said, and saved a man from becoming his father's enemy. The church emptied the way a battlefield does after the fighting stops. Slowly, carefully, with people avoiding each other's eyes. Flowers lay crushed beneath expensive shoes. White petals, once symbols of joy, now scattered like fallen feathers. The wedding music never resumed. The altar stood abandoned, candles still burning for a future that would never happen. Lena remained seated on the last bench. She didn't know where else to go. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap, knuckles pale. Every few seconds, she looked toward the door, expecting someone to come and tell her she didn't belong here anymore. She had shouted. She had exposed the truth. Surely that meant trouble was coming. Daniel stood near the front, speaking quietly with two men in dark suits. Lawyers. Always lawyers. His shoulders looked heavier now, as if the weight of the moment had finally settled in. When he turned and saw Lena still sitting there, something shifted in his expression. Wait, he told the men. He walked back down the aisle, the same path he was supposed to walk as a married man. But now he walked it alone. Why didn't you leave? Daniel asked gently. Lena shrugged. I didn't know if I was allowed to. He frowned. Allowed? She nodded. I ruin things, she said softly. People usually want me gone after that. Daniel sat beside her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. You didn't ruin anything, he said finally. You stopped something worse. Lena stared at the floor. You're rich, she said. People like you don't need saving by people like me. Daniel smiled faintly. That's where you're wrong. Later that night, Daniel sat alone in his study. The mansion felt colder than usual. He poured a drink he didn't touch. Anna's voice echoed in his mind. Not the crying version from the wedding, but the calm, cruel one from the recording. I waited 20 years. 20 years. Daniel leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. His father had once said something similar. Grudges don't die, the old man had told him. They sleep. Daniel had laughed then. He wasn't laughing now. Lena slept on a couch that night. It was soft. Too soft. She kept waking up, expecting someone to shake her and tell her to move along. But no one did. A blanket was placed over her shoulders. A glass of water appeared beside her. She cried quietly into the cushion, not because she was sad, but because for once she was safe. Sunlight filled the room. Lena sat up quickly. Daniel stood nearby holding 2 cups. Tea, he said. I hope that's okay. She nodded. Thank you, sir. Daniel, he corrected. Just Daniel. They sat across from each other at a long table meant for 10. Only 2 seats were filled. I want to understand, Daniel said, why you ran into that wedding knowing what could happen. Lena wrapped her fingers around the cup. My parents, she began. Her voice was quiet but steady. They fought because of something that happened before I was born. Their parents fought too. No one remembered how it started, only that it had to continue. Daniel listened. One night, she went on, my mother said she stayed because leaving would feel like losing. My father said staying was already losing. She swallowed. I promised myself I wouldn't let hate grow quietly if I could stop it. Daniel closed his eyes. By noon, the story was everywhere. Weddings stopped by poor girls' warning. Millionaire escapes revenge marriage. Reporters camped outside the gates. Opinions split. Some called Lena a hero. Others called her a manipulator. Daniel read every article. Then he shut his laptop. Public noise fades, he said aloud. Truth doesn't. That evening, Daniel called Lena into his office again. She stood nervously, hands behind her back. I've decided something, he said. Her stomach tightened. Yes, sir? I'm not just sponsoring your education, he said. She looked up sharply. I'm giving you a home. Her breath caught. A real one, he continued. School, tutors, safety. She shook her head. That's too much. Daniel smiled. So was stopping a wedding with nothing but courage. Tears filled her eyes. No one's ever chosen me before, she whispered. Daniel stood. I am choosing you now. Life changed quickly. Too quickly, sometimes. Lena learned how to sit at tables without apologizing. How to speak without flinching. How to sleep through the night. But old habits die slowly. She still hid bread in her bag. Still listened at doors. Still jumped at raised voices. Daniel noticed. He never forced her to explain. He just stayed. One afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address. Daniel opened it. Inside were 3 words. He folded the letter carefully. That night, he sat with Lena on the balcony. Do you ever regret it? He asked. She shook her head. No, she said. Truth doesn't regret being spoken. Daniel smiled. But it often demands more courage later. The knock came at midnight. Not loud. Not urgent. Just firm enough to mean business. Daniel was awake. He always was now. He moved quietly down the hallway, past rooms that still smelled new to Lena, past the study where plans for foundations and schools lay half-written. He reached the door and looked through the security screen. 2 men. Dark coats. No smiles. Daniel opened the door halfway. Yes. We need to speak with you, one said. About the girl. Daniel didn't hesitate. She's asleep, he replied. You can speak to me. The men exchanged a glance. That may not be enough. Daniel's jaw tightened. It will have to be. News of Anna's arrest didn't end things. It stirred them. Her family's name carried weight, built on old anger. The parental quarrel she had spoken about ran deeper than anyone wanted to admit. Properties lost. Court cases buried. Reputations destroyed quietly, over decades. Daniel learned the truth piece by piece. His father hadn't just competed with Anna's father. He had crushed him. Not illegally, but completely. That knowledge sat heavy on Daniel's chest. Hate, he realized, doesn't need permission. It only needs time. Lena woke to whispers. She always did. Her body remembered danger before her mind did. She crept toward the stairs and sat on the 3rd step from the bottom, her favorite listening spot. She's the weakness, a voice said. She's a child, another replied. That makes her dangerous. Lena's heart pounded. She hugged her knees and stayed silent. Listening. Always listening. Daniel noticed immediately. You didn't sleep, he said at breakfast. Lena forced a smile. I'm fine. He didn't believe her. Later, he found her in the library, staring at a single sentence in a book without turning the page. Tell me, he said gently. She hesitated. Then she spoke. They're watching, she said. Not you. Me. Daniel felt a surge of anger, then fear. You should never have to carry this, he said. Lena looked up. But I already do. Daniel insisted on normalcy. School. A uniform. A backpack that still smelled like plastic and hope. Lena stood at the gate, gripping the straps too tightly. Children stared. Some whispered. A few laughed. One boy pointed. She's the wedding girl. Her stomach twisted. But she walked in. Every step felt like walking into another storm. It happened during lunch. A girl with shiny shoes leaned across the table. So, she said loudly, Are you famous or just poor? Laughter erupted. Lena froze. Her chest tightened. Then she remembered the aisle, the scream, the truth. I'm both, she said quietly. The table went silent. Across the street from the school, a man sat in a parked car. He wrote one word in a notebook. Confirmed. That night, Daniel made calls. Serious ones. He refused to hide Lena. I won't teach her that truth requires fear, he said. Instead, he did more. He announced the foundation publicly, named Lena as its symbol, not its face, but its reason. The world reacted. Again, letters arrived. Some kind, some cruel, some threatening. Daniel read every one. Lena read none. She doesn't need to carry the world, Daniel said. But the world already knows her, his lawyer replied. Came suddenly. Outside a charity event. A woman stepped forward. Older. Eyes sharp. Do you know, she asked Daniel coldly, what your family did to mine? Daniel answered honestly. No, but I'm learning. The woman turned to Lena. And you, she said. Why did you interfere? Lena met her gaze. Because pain doesn't give permission to destroy, she said. The woman flinched, then walked away. Lena cried that night. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly like she had as a child. Daniel sat outside her door. He didn't enter. He didn't speak. He stayed. In the morning, she opened the door and found him still there. You don't have to be strong all the time, he said. She nodded. I know, she whispered, but I'll still try. The threat didn't come with shouting. Came with silence. The kind of silence that follows you. Lena felt it the moment she stepped out of the school gate that afternoon. The air felt heavier, like the city itself was holding its breath. Her driver opened the car door, but before she got in, she noticed it. A black car, parked across the street. Engine off. Windows dark. Her heart skipped. She didn't say anything. She got into the car, and she listened. The following. The black car appeared again the next day. And the next. Always far enough not to alarm. Close enough to be noticed. Daniel listened carefully as Lena explained that night. Did they speak to you? He asked. She shook her head. No, that's worse. Daniel made a decision before fear could change his mind. We don't hide, he said. We protect. Security doubled. Routes changed. But Lena refused to stop going to school. If I stop, she said, they win. Daniel nodded. Pride and fear mixed in his chest. The truth finally surfaced. Not through lawyers. Through an old man. He came to Daniel's office unannounced. Gray hair. Bent back. Eyes full of regret. I worked for both your fathers, he said. Before everything broke. Daniel listened. Years ago, a business partnership had turned sour. Daniel's father had taken the legal route. Clean, ruthless, final. Anna's father had lost everything. Pride turned to bitterness. Bitterness turned to obsession. And the children? Daniel asked. The old man sighed. They inherited a war they didn't start. Lena speaks. Daniel told Lena everything. She sat quietly, absorbing it. So she grew up angry, Lena said. Yes. And no one ever stopped her. Daniel nodded. Lena looked up. That's how it grows, she said. When no one interrupts. Daniel felt something crack open inside him. A letter arrived days later. No threat. An invitation. Private mediation. Final settlement. Daniel read it twice. They want to talk, he said. Lena shook her head. They want control. Maybe, Daniel said. Or maybe they're tired. He looked at her carefully. I won't go unless you're safe. Lena met his eyes. Then let me help, she said. Daniel hesitated. Then nodded. The room was cold. Glass walls. No warmth. 3 people sat across from Daniel. Lawyers. Observers. And Anna's mother. She didn't look angry. She looked empty. My daughter is ruined, the woman said softly. Daniel replied calmly. Your daughter chose revenge over healing. The woman's eyes shifted to Lena. You, she said. Why couldn't you mind your own suffering? Lena stood. Her legs shook, but her voice didn't. Because suffering spreads when ignored, she said. I didn't want it to touch him, or you. Silence fell. The woman's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, someone had spoken without accusation. Only truth. The settlement came quietly. Properties returned. Foundations funded. Charges reduced where possible. But something else happened. The woman asked to see Lena again. Alone. I raised my daughter on stories of injustice, she said. I never taught her mercy. Lena replied gently. You can still teach it. The woman nodded. Daniel does more. Weeks later, Daniel made another announcement. He didn't just fund Lena's education. He made her the first recipient of a long-term program. One that sponsored children from families broken by inherited conflicts. It's not charity, he said publicly. It's correction. Lena stood beside him. Not as a symbol, as a voice. That night they sat on the balcony again. No black cars. No whispers. Just city lights. You changed my life, Daniel said. Lena shook her head. No, she replied. You listened. Daniel smiled. And you spoke. The courtroom was quiet in a way that felt heavier than noise. Not the calm kind. The kind where every breath mattered. Lena sat on the wooden bench beside Daniel, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She wore a simple dress. Nothing expensive, nothing attention-seeking. Yet every eye in the room drifted toward her again and again. The poor girl who stopped a wedding. The child who exposed a lifetime of revenge. At the front of the room, Anna stood between two lawyers. She looked smaller now. Not defeated, just tired. The judge adjusted his glasses. We are not here, he said, to retry the past. We are here to decide what the future will carry. Lena swallowed. She felt the familiar urge to disappear. But she stayed. Anna was asked to speak. Her voice trembled at first. I hated him, she said, staring at the floor. Not Daniel, but what his name represented. She looked up, eyes wet. My father lost everything. I grew up watching bitterness replace love. Revenge felt like justice. She turned slowly toward Lena. And then a girl with nothing stopped me. By listening. The courtroom was silent. I don't ask forgiveness, Anna said, but I accept responsibility. The judge nodded. Then he looked at Lena. Do you wish to speak? Lena's heart pounded. Daniel leaned slightly toward her. You don't have to, he whispered. Lena stood anyway. I grew up hearing anger, Lena said softly. My parents fought over things they didn't start. No one taught them how to stop. She looked at Anna. I didn't stop your wedding because I hate you. I stopped it because hate lasts too long when no one interrupts it. She turned to the judge. If punishment is all we choose, she continued, the cycle continues. But if accountability meets mercy, something new can grow. The room felt different now. Lighter. The judge removed his glasses. This court, he said slowly, recognizes that truth came from the least powerful voice in this room. His gavel struck. The case was closed. Reporters surged forward. Questions flew. Daniel raised his hand. One statement, he said. He placed his hand gently on Lena's shoulder. This young girl didn't just save me from a bad marriage, he said. She saved me from becoming a man ruled by inherited hatred. Cameras flashed. And today, he continued, I announced the expansion of the Second Chance Initiative. Murmurs spread. It will fully sponsor education, housing, and counseling for children affected by generational conflict globally. Lena's eyes widened. Daniel looked down at her. And Lena will not just be sponsored, he said. She will help lead it when she is ready. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You're doing too much, she whispered. Daniel smiled. I'm doing what you taught me. That night, they sat in the same mansion where fear once lived. The windows were open. The air felt free. Why me? Lena asked quietly. Daniel thought for a moment. Because you were poor and still brave, he said. Because you were young and still honest. Because you could have stayed silent, and you didn't. He reached into his pocket and handed her a small envelope. Inside was a letter, a legal document, her name at the top. What is this? She asked. Security, he said. A future that doesn't depend on fear, and freedom to choose your own path. Lena looked up, overwhelmed. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel shook his head. No, he said gently. Thank you for stopping me before my life became a prison built by someone else's anger. Lena stood on a stage, confident, strong, educated. Behind her was a banner. Listen, interrupt, heal. She spoke to thousands, but she remembered one moment, one scream, one wedding, one choice. In the front row, Daniel stood and applauded, proud, grateful, changed. Because a poor girl once stopped a rich man's wedding and ended a war that had lasted generations. If you enjoyed the story, please like, comment, and share. Also subscribe to get more nice stories like this.